What is up, Retromaniacs? Welcome to Retro Card Chat Podcast. My name is Mike from Mike's Retro Trading Cards, and I am joined by two men that have recently leveled up and shall henceforth be known as Captain Fireball EP Eric Pahalik and the intergalactic superstar Joe Day. What is up, fellas?
I own
What's
that.
up? Oh, yeah, Captain Fireball. EP, you have any Fireball cooking today?
Absolutely, of course.
It's always Fireball 30, right?
Mm-hmm.
One thing we learned on our trip to the National, it's always Fireball 30.
It's always Fireball 30.
And
Another thing we learned is, boys, yes. I am off the wagon.
Nice.
My 30-day experiment is over. Joe Day is back to drinking a nice hazy IPA.
How's your liver feeling after that 30 days?
You know, it didn't do much.
No, exactly. Yeah. Well,
so,
like a week.
What's the point? What's the point?
Yeah. My liver didn't even compliment me in any way.
There we go.
That's beautiful.
Cheers, boys.
Well, of course, we were gone for the National last weekend, but we are finally back in our own homes. You know, we didn't get robbed, we didn't get beat up, we didn't get COVID, so I call that a win.
Undefeated, baby.
Is it a win or is it just what it is? Like
it is what it is. Yeah,
it is what it is.
But a good time. So, what's new, guys?
Not much for me, man. I'm just kind of trying to settle back in after being gone for over a week. I had some family stuff I had to take care of, so I was out of the house for a little while. And before I left, the power went out in my house. So you guys caught the tail end of that in that pod we did 2 weeks ago, where the sky just got black behind me, and I ran inside. I had no power for like 30 hours. So I've just been trying to catch up on some things. Sold some cards from that PSA reveal that we showed. Sold some Marvel cards. Yeah, so it's been one of them at the casino where we were hanging out at the Trop. One of them
sold it at the casino?
Well, yeah, I should have just taken it with me and sold it for some chips. But no, it's sold. I got the eBay notification.
What time was that?
We're outside the casino.
Yeah, that was like
1 in the morning.
Yeah, 1 in the morning. It was crazy. Yeah.
Like $500. Let's go back into the casino.
Always good. How about you, EP?
I'm just excited about your stack sale, man. Like I've been tweeting about it. Like I'm super excited. Like it's gonna be really cool. Like I have my own cards that I'm like excited about my stack sale, but like it's gonna be like a fraction. Like it's gonna be ridiculous compared to what you have. Like I'm excited about it. You give us a little bit of a.
I'm glad you're excited about it, but yes, on my Twitter feed, follow me at Mike's Upper Deck 1. I am starting a 2-week-long stack sale called Retromania. I've been digging through all kinds of stuff: baseball, football, basketball, hockey, wrestling, Marvel cards, non-sport, Pokemon, a little bit of everything for everybody. So yeah, we'll see how that goes and give you a little update next week and give you the final update in 2 weeks. But yeah, excited to kick it off tonight and hopefully somebody buys something. Yeah.
What's our employee
you don't get one now. They're cheap enough.
If I jump on that lot you shared with us last night, if I jump on and say I want all the Spider-Mans, can I get all the Spider-Mans? Or do they say like A1, C5, all those things? Like
you need to claim it by number.
Claim it, man.
Because I won't.
I guess I'm out, but I want all the Spider-Mans. I want all the Spider-Mans.
I'm out. EP doesn't want to type more than like 5 letters.
It's too many words. I've had too much Fireball. It's too many words. Forget
it. Well, maybe back off the Fireball a little bit and give yourself some time to claim all the Spider-Man.
Give him a heads up when the Spider-Man will be released.
I will, yes.
That seems like a lot of work. I don't know.
I'll give you the heads up of what number and letter you have to put for it. You can just pre-type it out and throw it in. So, but yeah, my stack sale notwithstanding is not really the reason we're here this week. We're going to talk about cards. Imagine that.
What?
Yeah, strangely enough, we're going to talk about some card news. And starting off, made the rounds all week. We're a little late getting to this one on a Sunday afternoon as we record this, but Fanatics is apparently ending their deal with longtime distributor GTS, which from what I understand, is one of their biggest distributors of Topps products and has been with them for quite a while. And apparently the beginning of 2023, they will no longer be carrying Topps products. So pretty big deal for a lot of people. I don't know, how many people understand how the distributor system works, but a lot of card shops that can't afford to buy things direct or don't have an account direct, they buy from a secondary seller, a wholesaler basically, called a distributor. So your local mom and pop shop might get like 5 boxes of Topps baseball or something. They're typically buying it from a distributor who had bought it from Topps. So, they're buying the product from Topps, they're marking it up a little bit and selling it to the retailer. When I had my shop, I bought from a pretty big distributor in New Jersey, and that's where I got most of my product from. They're good and bad with the distributors. I don't have a shop anymore, so I do know from talking to my local card shop that they play some games with some of the better product, with some of the hotter product, be it raising the price on it, or really cutting allocations for smaller shops so they can butter the bread, so to speak, of their bigger accounts or people that they've known for a little longer. So not really sure how I personally feel about this, but other than the fact to say I'm not surprised, because, going back to episode 1 of the podcast, we, reviewed the Michael Rubin interview, and he, from the get-go, had talked about the distribution system and how dumb he felt like it was with all the middlemen that are involved with cards. So really, this has to be the first step, right?
Yeah, so I hope, in a way, because at the end of the day, it should make cards cheaper for the consumers. You hope they don't take out the middleman. Yeah. So I was saying, you would hope they don't take out the middleman and then just charge what the middleman was going to charge anyway. So all you're really doing is hurting other companies and making yourself more profitable, and you're not actually helping the consumer. I'm hoping that if something costs $150, that through a distributor, it'll cost $125 if you're going through Fanatics or something like that. I hope there's some sort of balance where it's not just, yay, Michael Rubin gets to make profit, more profit for Michael Rubin, more profit for Fanatics. Maybe there's a little bit of kickback to the collectors, especially someone like me who's actually going to start buying Topps products when they get the football license back. I'd really like to see some of that money that they're saving by not going through the distributors. I'm hoping that they're kicking that to the consumer in some way.
I talked about this on my work podcast, Collecting Cardboard, and I have a lot of opinions about this, because I'm bringing that up because I work in newspaper. So in my business, we have a circulation department and distribution department, and there are a lot of people in our business who are talking about how they're going to go all digital at some point. But then those people that I have friends with that work in distribution and circulation and delivery and all that sort of stuff, and they're all like we have one edition, or we're a weekly edition, 7 days a week, but one of our editions is online only, and we have a guy in circulation, or a guy in distribution, circulation production, who's like, I don't read the online edition because that is something that deep down that hurts his job.
It's
that
almost
is something
like
that
a cashier not wanting to go through the self
scan
aisle, because at the end of the day, more people go through self scan. It's bad for them because they could just automate the whole thing. Yeah. I mean, I get where you're coming from, and I agree. I mean, it's only, at the end of the day, it's only going to hurt the people that are in distribution if it's not going to benefit the buyer at the at the end of the line, right? Would you do that, Mike? I mean, what are your thoughts, Mike? Do you think that they're actually going to make the prices more competitive for the end user if they're getting rid of this whole other layer?
I don't know. I feel
it's kind of gross, right? It's kind of gross.
Real gross.
Well, I mean, Fanatics is paying a lot of money, a lot of money for the licenses. So, they're gonna need to make profit, and that's probably a big area where they can increase their profit automatically without prices having to go up. At least the end consumer, we're not going to be necessarily paying more for it just because they cut the distribution out. So, I mean, Panini charges whatever they want for everything they put out anyway. So, maybe, how's it any different? You know, we're going to pay whatever it costs. Either you decide to buy it or you don't. So, but I really don't think it's going to end up making anything any cheaper. I think they're just going to make more profit off of that. I mean, Michael Rubin, like Fanatics as a business, has really worked hard to have the distribution of their product. You know, you can order a jersey from them and they can make it up and they can ship it out and they can get it to you all by themselves. So like, you know, I don't see a company like that needing a distributor. Like, why do they? They have a network to distribute product already, and you know, it's overkill. You're just like giving people money to make and charging people more for it. Like, so I think they'll probably eat most of that up and just make profit out of it themselves.
Do you guys think Topps goes to the Dutch auction online stuff for some of their bigger higher end products, or like what do you think happens with that?
I hope not. Like,
yeah,
I hate that.
Dutch auction always felt weird to me. It felt very random to me. It's like we would go into the shop, Mike, you would have a price on something that was probably a little bit more than what you paid for it. We would buy it, and that we wouldn't walk in and negotiate. Hey, here's 10 other people who want this product. Let's see it, you know, how low we can go on the price. It just, that always felt like a weird situation to me. I guess it's been normal the last few years before we got back into the hobby. It's something that Panini's done. I just never understood that.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that either. Like, give me a price, let me decide. Like, don't let Joe be able to buy it for like $100 less than me because he got lucky and wait. Like, I don't know. I don't feel like that method of selling is really goes hand in hand with growing the hobby. Like, I feel like that's more of a gambling kind of thing, and you know, people trying to wait it out, and you know, I don't know. And you know, that goes hand in hand with Panini and all the weird stuff with their distributors. You know, people talking about all this, you know, they never really talk about how the distributors for Panini product really seem to set the secondary market for a product. Look at WWE Prism. Like, that stuff suggested retail was supposed to be like $200 a box, and they were automatically the very first pre-sales. They decided it was $900, $1,000 a box. You know, like the distributor that's supposed to be selling at wholesale,
and it was like market. They determined the market price, and then Panini sells it for the market price.
Yeah, I've always thought that whole system was crooked. You know, price fixing, whatever you want to call it. You know, I maybe I shouldn't make that claim. I don't know. But like, it makes you feel like these people are out there, you know, determining beforehand what markup they're going to have on this altogether.
It's like they're trying to determine the aftermarket price before the aftermarket price is even a thing.
Exactly. They are.
Like, that's the bottom line. Like, let the buyer determine that.
They're
like, that's crazy.
Distributors to do that too, for sure. And there's no doubt in my mind.
So, you know, a lot, like, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of distributors in a lot of the games that they play. I know, talking with my local shop, like he's a guy that has been doing this for a long time, and he just goes on and on about how ridiculous it is to get product. You know, you can't even, you know, commit to your customers that you'll have the amount that you need of something. So yeah, you know, get rid of the distributors. They don't need them. Like, even if Fanatics is making the money off it, what difference does it make if I have to pay $200 for it, whether Topps made 100 of that and the distributor made 50, or Fanatics is making 150 of my 200? Like, what's the difference? So
I get that. I just, you know, when you hear someone say, "Oh, we're going to cut out the middleman," well, okay, but that doesn't help me. You're happy you're cutting out the middleman for yourself. So don't use that as a selling point to me when you're doing an interview with Bill Simmons saying, "Oh, we're cutting out all these middlemen." Cool. That means literally nothing to me if the price doesn't come down.
And it means a million of like thousands of dollars probably to the people who are the middlemen who are losing their jobs.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I mean, so
like,
and I mean, those people made a lot of money though too.
Yeah,
so
sure. Over the years, they definitely made a lot of money.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah. And you know, other people are going to be distributing it. So I don't know. I'm not into that whole jobs thing, because, you know, people working for a different company are going to be responsible for getting that product out there. So I don't see a big difference.
Well, it's just probably they would probably just use their own network. I mean, they probably have to hire more people because it would be more.
Yeah, they would.
Really,
I mean, they're not going to be able to move cards and all their apparel. The same people. They're going to have to hire people for that.
Right.
So, okay, well,
we know a couple of people that will need those jobs.
We do,
the distributors that will be firing all their employees. They'll definitely be available.
So this week, Fanatics also announced exclusive deals with a number of breakers. Again, this goes back to the very first podcast and Michael Rubin's vision for the hobby. He wants a one-stop shop. I kind of feel like signing up the breakers now to buy the product right from them, only break Topps product for now. And, I think this just, again, the first phase of his plan.
Smart business, bad for the hobby, in my opinion. I think it's smart business for Fanatics. If you're going to go and say you can only break our product, that really puts other smaller companies in some hurt. Upper Deck, Leaf, if you tell a company they can only break Topps products, what's that leave for the other companies? They're going to, especially the big breakers. I watch a couple of the breakers. I don't get involved because that's not my jam, but I watch a bunch of them, and they'll open up, boxes of Topps products. They'll open up boxes of Panini products. They'll open up Upper Deck, everything. And they give that opportunity to the buyers. If you're into hockey cards, they'll do personal breaks of that. If you're into Marvel cards, they do breaks of that, but they'll also do football and basketball. I think it's very smart move for Panini to do that, or I'm sorry, for Fanatics to do that. But I think it ultimately is going to hurt the hobby because you're squashing any sort of competition that could potentially be broken, that could potentially be broken, braked, that could potentially be braked by the big time breakers that they're signing these contracts with.
I feel like it's good business for both the breakers and for the company Fanatics. I feel like, if you're a sports breaker and baseball, football, basketball are the big three, like they're probably going to get deals on the product. You're going to get the product first. You're going to be breaking the product that you want to be breaking anyway. So for them, I think it's a good deal. I kind of agree with Joe that it's a little bit of a shaky situation, but I feel like, I'm one of those people who, like, when a baseball player or a football player or basketball player gets like this ridiculous contract, I'm like, go out and get what you're paid, what you deserve. Like you get the money you deserve, and like sign the contract, and just understand that what you're signing up for, and that you can't break Leaf stuff or you can't break Upper Deck stuff anymore. But for a lot of the people I think that are breaking, they're going to be okay with that because they got the big three. They got the three big sports.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm going to put on my conspiracy theory hat again. And, I talked before about how I thought Panini might be overprinting and stuff as a way to try to pressure Fanatics into maybe giving them a little better offer. Maybe Fanatics, this is a way to put the pressure back on Panini, saying, you know what, we're signing up all these people now. They're not going to be buying your product. Maybe you guys should come down a little bit of price. I don't know. Just throwing those crazy ideas out there. But
I don't think it's that great.
It might not be quite so black and white, but there definitely some corporate maneuvering, I think, going on with some of these decisions. Yeah. Like, why do they have to sign breakers up now? I feel, the timing of it being a couple years ahead of when they're actually going to have everything. It's either there is some kind of deal that's going to be announced with them buying Panini close to the future that they're doing this stuff, or it's a little jab back and forth between the two, trying to see who they can make blink first. So Fanatics is going to win that fight anyway, at some point, whether they buy Panini or not. They end up with the licenses, they have everything, so they really do have the ultimate power in their back pocket. So it'll be interesting to see. But yeah, it's a big decision for a lot of breakers, though. Like it's kind of the giving up money now to guarantee your future. And, I mean, probably the right deal for them to do. I got to think the people that get in on that early will be treated favorably and, will get the product. And I mean, I'm not big into buying breaks, not really my thing. So I'm not the best person to talk about it. So
you're the only one of us of this group to actually buy into one, though.
I had a couple, yeah, but like it's kind of like it was fun when I did it, the first couple times. And I'm like, why am I doing this? It's like gambling. So not really a big fan of that. So, but yeah, like I wonder how much business Leaf and Upper Deck do with breakers.
The Marvel stuff has to be the big thing for Upper Deck at this point. I mean, and that's a really, really popular product. So it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out. Like hockey, probably, I don't know. I don't watch hockey. I never was a hockey guy. I don't know how hockey does in terms of cards, but I know Marvel is, I mean, it's been huge for a while, but it's been the last year or so. It's just absolutely ridiculous. And it'll be interesting to see how that, taking that away from breakers. And there are some breakers that just specialize in that, but then they'll get some football. So I think they'll just stick with, you have someone like Leighton, though, who's one of the bigger breakers, and they break everything. They even have, at this point, they have a gaming, like a sub channel to their normal YouTube where they break just gaming stuff. So I don't know what the contracts say to that. Like, oh yeah, you can still break Pokemon cards, or you can still break these things that Fanatics doesn't have any interest in doing. But if Fanatics is trying to push on their companies, does that mean, well, you can't break Upper Deck?
I think it's pretty much exclusively Tops. I think
so. You couldn't even break Pokemon if you wanted to.
Yeah, from what I understand, like I'm not 100% certain, but everything I've heard is exclusively Tops.
Yeah.
I feel like one of the differences here, though, might be like I don't maybe somebody in the comments can let us know, but I feel like there's not been any deals where like you're gonna buy the comics cards from us, like the comic cards from us from Upper Deck. I feel like this is different because they're saying you can only do this, where before like they're just gonna buy whatever they want and they're going to like rip whatever they want on the channel. Where I think this is like saying this is you can only do this, right? I don't know if there was a deal before with the comic stuff, and I think that might be part of like a bit of a sea change in the hobby, which. Probably a bad sea change, like Joe was saying.
I mean, you do have to think though, there's demand for it out there. So if the bigger breakers are signing exclusive deals, you have to think that other people are going to fill that void. Like I question at the end of the day how much different it will really be. You may not be able to buy that Panini or that Marvel product from the breaker you did last time, but somebody is going to be selling it. Somebody's going to be breaking it. Like, if all the big guys go to Tops, somebody's going to step in and do the other stuff. Like that's pretty much the free market, and you got to think somebody's going to take advantage of that. So.
Well, I'm just really glad we're giving even more power to people like Backyard Breaks. I mean, they're so great for the hobby. And I mean, I can't believe we didn't go over to their booth and like cheer them on and cheer for them to rip their shirts off and rip cards. I mean, they're down to earth guys who are really just, they make you feel good about being involved in the hobby for sure. I mean, so I'm glad the Fanatics is reaching out and working out a deal with them. And I know that they are really good for the hobby. So
good points,
I mean that
Joe.
with all sincerity.
Good points.
Totally valid points. Yeah, no arguments from anybody there.
Going back to Joe's previous comments, I think Pokemon is probably the biggest player in this, right? Because they don't own the Pokemon rights. I think that's probably the biggest one. Do you agree with that, Mike?
I don't know. I mean, I'm totally foreign world for me for breaking Pokemon. So
there are so many huge.
I would assume
massive breakers. Yeah,
just knowing how many channels and stuff there would have to be. So I mean, those people probably don't have a whole lot of incentive to sign with Fanatics.
Right.
Why would they?
So that's what when I brought up Leighton, that's what it'll be so interesting because Leighton is one of the biggest sports card breakers. But then they created this whole new channel devoted just to the gaming side of it, which has gotten pretty big. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, Leighton's obviously not going to be shut out of Fanatics. They don't want to lose out on Tops products, football, basketball, baseball. They obviously don't want to lose out on that. But it's going to be interesting to see if they just say, oh, we're not going to do gaming cards anymore because we don't want to get in trouble with Fanatics. So I'm curious on how the contract's written for a company like that, where Pokemon isn't ever going to sell to Topps, right? I like that's its own entity. So I don't know if Fanatics looks at it like, okay, you can still do those because that's not in the sandbox we're playing in, but you can't do Panini, non-affiliated sets, not affiliated to the football or anything, not affiliated to the NFL. I'm sorry. I'm wondering if that's where the cutoff is.
Yeah, I don't know, but I mean, the big breakers have decisions to make, so be interesting to see where it goes from there. All right, we're gonna move on a little bit here.
Just before we move on from that segment, I just want to say that I want Mike, when he puts on his conspiracy theory hat, I want him to actually have a physical hat.
We do need a hat.
we need to ask him a physical hat for him to put on.
I need a tinfoil hat. That would be
fantastic. You do. That would be great.
That'd be great. That'd be great.
I would be totally, absolutely. We can do that. All right, now we're moving on. We all saw the video of Logan Paul ripping open his Pokemon and finding G.I. Joe cards. Well, apparently that might be a little bigger problem in the industry with older sealed wax than maybe people realized. So Platinum Breaks this week was opening a box of 2020 National Treasures football, and they found a deck of Legends of the Five Rings gaming cards in their sealed box of National Treasures. And we saw the other DSS cards. I think that was from the National, wasn't it? That he bought the box of 2012-2013 Panini Prism Hobby Basketball and opened it up to find Austin Powers cards. So, crazy. Like, the boxes looked like they were brand new. Like, you have to wonder how many boxes that are sitting out there have stuff in it that don't belong in it.
I wish I could give credit. I forget exactly who I was watching that made the mention that as good as people have gotten at faking slab labels, at cutting cards, at faking cards, is there any wonder that people have gotten really good at making fake seals for these boxes? I mean, I'd say, well, you should probably get it authenticated, but Logan Paul's was authenticated. I mean, so, and we talked about this on last week's pod, how we were kind of joking with the young ladies who were working at BBCE about how many times have you gotten jokes about that. And then a mere, 24 hours later, someone was ripping something open and had Austin Powers cards in it. I said, no joke, as I was going to the National, I thought to myself, if I would buy like a box of say a 1998 box, which is not crazy expensive, but it's got Peyton, it's got Moss, I would almost open it right there in front of them, buy it, open it right there in front of them, have you guys record it, and then open it to make sure the packs were real. No joke. I actually thought that, because I'll pay for it and I'll open it right here. But if I open it up and I see Austin Powers cards, then we're going to have a discussion about how I'm getting my money back, because I don't trust, what did Austin say? DTA? Don't trust anybody. I mean, that's kind of how I feel when it comes to anything sealed anymore,
I don't know if this is as big of a deal as it's a bigger deal than the one box, but I don't know if it's as big of a deal as it seems to be, in my opinion. And also, I would rather have the Legend of the Five Rings than National Treasures myself, and not for that price.
I don't think if you paid that money for it, you feel that way. Yeah,
I wouldn't pay that amount of money for it, but I don't really that's not my game at all. So that's where I'm at.
I don't know. I mean, you see two different boxes in a week being ripped and having something else. Like, one of those things, it's only going to be a small percentage that are actually open that people find out. Like, I kind of think opposite of you. I think it might be a lot more of that out there than people think. And where are they getting the shrink wrap? Is Panini, are these companies, they have people selling out the back door? Like that's really something I feel like people need to look into. Like that stuff that they really need to guard and make sure isn't being taken. I would imagine they do to some level, but it must not be working. Like I don't know if they're faking the seal for it or if they're getting actual seal somehow from an employee.
This is what I thought happened, right? As for the 2012, 2013 Prism, they carefully opened an actual box, pulled the actual packs out, and then refilled it with Austin Powers, and then took a shrink wrapper and took just, wrapped it around and then resealed it. That's what I thought. But Mike, you're not wrong. I mean, someone could be selling shrink wrap out the back door. It's completely possible that this would be a perfect opportunity for your tinfoil hat when you say that line. But that's not too crazy either. People are always looking to scam in this hobby, unfortunately. And that's how I looked at it, is they open up an actual box. It's like the breakers who were like opening up packs with their hands out of cameras and like exchanging cards.
There are some that do it every pack. Yeah.
Yeah. So
yes.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I'd be nervous about it. Not for me personally. I'm not opening up. I'm not getting involved in breaks. But the guy who broke that product was out probably $15,000 because they opened up another box then to make up for the 2012, 2013 Prism. What was it? Curry's rookie year. I think it was Topps Chrome. Maybe they opened up. I forget what the backup was. But man, that guy's out $15,000. And, I might not like breakers, but no one should think they're getting something on the up and up and be out $15,000 like that. I mean, that's just unbelievable. And hopefully he knows who he bought it from. Yeah. And hopefully that person knows who they bought it from and they can kind of get the line back. We watched Northeast Ohio Cards and Comics sometimes, and he opened up a box of 90 MU, and it was Dungeon and Dragons cards. Yeah. Like, I mean, they're going. It's all
happening
over
a lot. Yeah, it really is.
How do you combat this if you're BBCE or whatever? How do you combat this if you're them without compromising the sanctity of the case that you are? Yeah, the seal. Like, how do you combat this? Like, well, what's your how do you like if you
again? I think it really comes down to like what method the people doing it are using. Like if they're producing their own shrink wrap with Panini logo on it, like hopefully a BBC would be able to pick up on that. But if they're getting something out the back door, I don't know how you can tell. Like if somebody is getting a hold of a roll of Panini shrink wrap, like how are you ever going to know?
Right.
I listened to a podcast. I know it was like Dr. Beckett's podcast. There's one that somebody said they were trying to come up with some sort of like it's pretty wild, but like micro technology where they like inject this like micro thing in to go in and look at the be able to like just like a very small pinhole to look and see to make sure that the actual product in the box is what is on front of the box. And I mean like that breaks the seal, right? Technically. But I mean, that would be a way. Like if they were able to, like maybe not just like some like crazy like drone or whatever, but if they were to use like some sort of surgical technology that would go down inside and
that'd be hysterical.
They made it sound like it was like nanotechnology. No, they were talking like
like Iron Man's checking boxes now for BBCE.
Yeah, exactly. And if they were able to use like something where they just broke the seal like a pinhole and they were able to see what was inside the box, like that would probably be the way to do it. Right? That'd be the only way to do it.
I think BBCE opens up some of the boxes. I'm pretty sure that they do. I'm pretty sure they open it up and verify packs. The reason they didn't with the Logan Paul is because they thought it was a sealed case. And I don't think the 2012, 2013 was a BBCE product. I think it was, they went out and bought it and it was sealed with Panini's.
Yeah, it looked like wrapping. It had Panini.
So it wasn't
on the logo.
So none of this is these last two are not BBCE's fault,
Yeah, no,
right,
not at all.
But I think like for Jordan's 86 Fleer, they open those up and they look at the packs because you can even see where they say, one of the packs is showing a Jordan rookie. Like they'll have that information because they are going through and looking at them. So I mean, I don't know. It's without actually ripping everything open as you buy it.
Right.
It's hard for you if you want to, and as a breaker, you don't want to have it. You don't want to open it up when you get it because you want to open it up on camera for the break, or they think you're pulling some sort of shenanigans. So it's a real,
and you've already sold
it's
the
a real tough
spots.
situation.
Yeah.
You've already sold the spots.
Yeah. I mean, for probably thousands of dollars in some cases, right?
Oh, that.
Yeah.
I mean, it was $15,000 box. So, I mean, if the box cost them $15,000, they probably put $20,000 worth of spots out there. If you think about it, it's just, whew. That's
I think with the older stuff, Joe, I think a lot of that stuff doesn't come wrapped. So that might be
that's true.
Why some of that
they
stuff
can open it up and then, that makes sense.
Okay, our final topic of the day. This week they came out with the July grading numbers for the grading cards, and one of the big news out of it was SGC only graded 54,000 cards in July. They were down 46% over the previous month. PSA did 1 million cards. They were up 13, as CSG did 153,000. But really want to focus mostly on SGC here. Like that output number is really low. I know their turnaround times right now are like a day, and this doesn't look good for SGC in my opinion.
I mean, I'm not going to cry for them. I did the math quick. If it was all $30 entries, that's $1.6 million that they got last month just in grading. But yeah, so I would like to get a real PSA number. I know it's over 1 million. I know they've graded over 1 million, but they're still grading backlog. I can't wait to see what the actual number will be. It'll still be the highest. Everyone calm down. I'm not throwing PSA under the bus. It's still going to be number one for sure. But I'm curious what the actual number is of cards coming in that they're grading. They did not grade, or they did not get in 1 million cards to grade this past month. Those cards have been sitting there most likely since last June, last June or July. But in terms of SGC, I mean, at this point, you've got to think to yourself, when does the hit come where they're down to $15 a card? It's got to come soon.
Unless it should have come already.
It should have come already. And the folks at SGC might be thinking, if we're making 1.6, I don't know how much they build out their staff compared to PSA. PSA opened up a whole different company. They hired a ton of graders. I'm wondering what their staff looks like. Like if they're running on the same costs that they've been running on these last few years, in terms of, overhead, in terms of employees and benefits and all that, and they're getting $1.6 million of revenue a month, that's still pretty good. I'm curious on how that checks out against their expenses. But yeah, unless you're really comfortable with only grading that amount of cards, you really need to lower that price to $20 at the highest, and I would say probably closer to $15. And you can take more cards, and you can probably handle it if you're only taking a day or two to turn a $30 standard entry or standard submission around in a couple of days.
I agree that the price should probably come down, but I also think I wonder how much of this is still the rebound from the absolute crazy amount of cards that were being sent in to be graded for such a long time, like the last year or so. I really feel like that's a big part of this. And I don't know if you guys watched Sports Card Dad's video like last week about how all the highest sales are SGC cards, because and we've talked about this a number of times with the Elite Co and everybody. Like SGC seems to grade the fairest and the best, and I think a lot of people look at it that way, and they'll send their card in for that reason to SGC. So
they won't for that reason.
Well, I mean, yeah.
If they went to tens, baby, they're sending them to PSA.
True. Right. So I think it's an interesting topic for sure.
Yeah, I feel like they were a little bit ahead of the game when they dropped to 30, and they got a lot of business, but I feel like they've been hanging out there for way too long, and I feel like they should have been down to 20 by now, like for a month or two. Like they needed to. PSA is going to swallow up a huge part of this market because I guarantee you they're going lower. They're going to be no more than $15 a card at some point. And
Wow.
like I've been saying it from the beginning. You don't make your business, you don't grow it, scale it up to the size they have to not want to get the business coming in. And I don't like, you have to stay ahead. SGC had a good little chunk of the market there, but now people are turning away. Like, why? A lot of people are saying, why should I send it to SGC for 30 when I can send it to PSA and it's going to be worth more? And
well, the
really
turnaround is the answer. I mean, if
but again, it's not going to be worth the same amount of money. And at the end of the day, I think you're going to find a majority of collectors are more worried about what the card's worth than how fast they get it back.
Well, if I would have sent my cards to SGC if they were $30 a year and a half ago, I'm wondering what the difference in price would have been. Marvel is such a weird animal, so I can't really make that comparison with the Marvel cards I sent in because people just want those in PSA slabs. There's not even a close comparison between the two. But the football side of it, I'm wondering if I would have gotten those cards back, a month after I sent them in with SGC, would I have actually ended up doing better than I'm going to with PSA? My question to you, Mike, as someone who's a business owner, someone who has done this for a long time, if you dropped it to $15 a card and say it jumps you up to 108,000 cards in a month, what's better? Would you rather grade 108,000 at 15 or just consistently have 54 at 30 with the quick turnaround?
Well, the problem is I don't know that you can count on consistently keeping the numbers at 30. Like, you've already dropped almost 50% from the previous month. So your price is too high. Like, if looking at it from a business perspective, it's very clear they're overpriced and people aren't using it. So you can't count on that number. I think that number is going to continue to drop. And if PSA opens up a $20 level, who's going to send the cards to SGC? I don't see it happening. So if in a perfect world, if you could count on that, you'd be fine, but you can't. That number is going to continue to decline, and you have to react to the market. Like, I talked about it when we talked about CSG like a while ago, raising their $12 rate up to 15. I thought it was really dumb because they were so much under everybody and they were getting a lot of cards to grade.
And that's probably what the numbers we're looking at that they have in this report.
Their numbers, they're down 13% too. So like, it's no secret what PSA is doing. Like, they are a huge company. They're absolutely massive. They have a lot of money behind it now. They're setting themselves up to totally dominate the grading market. I'm not a fan of that. I know you guys aren't either, but like, I don't know how you can look at it and see anything other than them. Like, I feel like they're going to swallow up the whole market and pretty much own 95% of it.
Probably. I mean, because I mean, honestly, I mean, they probably will, because no offense to people out there, but people don't care how a card looks. We're going to talk about this on our short prints, I'm sure. But one of the big takeaways I got from the National is that Mickey Mantle from 52 and a PSA 10 did not look like a 10. No, SGC's a better grader. They're more consistent. They are just more objective when it comes to the cards. And people don't want that. We talk about this during
they want 10s.
If there's AI technology, will that grab market share, right? If there's an actual AI technology. No, people want 10s, and they will pay PSA $20 to wait a year and a half, and they'll get their cards and they will get their 10s, and they will be happy because they don't care about the card in the slab. They care about
they don't have to worry about the 9.5 from SGC or CSG.
Yeah. Right, exactly. So
you guys both said SGC should come down to $20. Do you think that's enough? Especially if you think, Mike, if you think PSA is going to be down to 15, do you think 20 is enough? Like, that sounds like not enough. Like, they should go down to like 10 or 12.
I think
right?
they should have been at 20 now,
right?
With the ability to go to 15. Like, I don't know. I mean, like I've said, I've been saying it all along. PSA is going to drop. I think they're not going to be any higher than 15 at some point. Not right away. It's going to take them a while. They're going to make sure they don't get a huge backlog again. But I think they're going to get there. And I think SGC would be smart to get there first.
I think SGC should consider going to a tiered pricing too. PSA does it. People seem to be okay with it. Why doesn't SGC do that?
I was going to ask that, but I feel like none of the other companies can do that right now because PSA is has such a stranglehold on everything that, like, if you're going to upcharge, I'll just send my stuff.
Could you imagine the money they would have gotten that SGC 9.5 Mickey Mantle?
Mantle, yeah,
really.
I mean, honestly, though, if you're going to go flat fee, it's tough. I don't know how much lower you can go where it actually makes financial sense. You know, because you're going to try and undercut other companies when the other companies, PSA, by the way, is $15 or whatever it'll end up being. It'll be $15 for 199 and lower cards. Let's not just pretend it's going to be a flat $15. It's going to be $15. I think they're going to have
to go. Maybe they'll go up to like $4.99. I don't know.
For 15, I think that's a $30.
Doesn't value at 30 now, those $4.99, right?
Right. So 15.
But that's what was the actual value tier. That was $199. That was a special for the national. But I like the $30 level that they have now is the one I think is going to end up. Like I don't think it'll be any higher than 20. Like, I really feel like it could get below 20. Maybe they don't have to go below 20. Like 20 might be a spot where they can make a ton of money on it and still get a lot of cards. So they might not go to 15, but I just can't see them staying up around 30 with value. So, all right, guys. Well, I think we said all that needed to be said this week. We'll be back with short prints on Wednesday, and we'll be wrapping up our trip to the National last week. So I'm looking forward to that discussion. But other than that, good chat, guys, and we'll talk to you next week.
See you, boys.